Today is I think, the biggest day in the history of BYU football. And the reason that I say that is because if BYU truly does get that invitation, and BYU is invited to the Big 12 today, as we are told that that is going to happen, this is going to be a significant, groundbreaking day in the history of college football. To have BYU, Houston, Cincinnati, and Central Florida as P5 teams with a clear and unquestioned seat at the table when you're talking about the college football playoff. The game has changed. And as Texas and Oklahoma did moving to the SEC, every action has an equal reaction. And to me, I think, Jake, this is one of the true moments in time where the history of BYU athletics will change.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been talking about this day for like 5 years, maybe even longer than that. We've talked about it all week for the last like 2 weeks, and I think that, whether you're a BYU fan or not, or whether you're a Big 12 fan or not, I think that overall this is just one of those days. It's the day we've been waiting for, and I'll be really interested to see what all they say in the announcement. I mean, obviously they're going to announce, that everyone's joining the conference, but what else do we get? I mean, do we get, a full line out of divisions and what everything's going to look like, and what? That's what I'll be looking for. Details. I want details. So yeah, I mean, yes, today is a very important day. I think after they make the announcement, and then tomorrow gets here, the next biggest, most important day in BYU's history is the first game they play in the Big 12, So today's a big day. At the end of the day, I think if you're a BYU fan, once its announcement's made, your attention should shift to playing Utah. That's about as quick and easy as I think this process is going to play out. So, but yeah, it's exciting. It's for sure exciting.
Well, and I think that's kind of one of the storylines this weekend of the rivalry game. Is this where the 9-game, losing streak and winning streak comes to an end? Is the announcement of the Big 12 invitation for BYU, is that a distraction for BYU, or is that a motivation for BYU? I think that's a huge question. I mean, you look at the numbers surrounding this game, and Utah's a full touchdown favorite, which is a little surprising. Now, the boys in Vegas set lines to get your money. So I don't know that I put a whole lot of leverage in that 7 points is going to be what's going to happen in this game, because I certainly don't think so. And we'll have that pick coming up for you in a moment. But I think without question, this is a motivator. I think without question, the news that BYU, and by the way, Jake.
Yeah.
I would just like to dislocate my shoulder, patting myself on the back.
Okay.
Because we've been all over this story from the moment that it was even a possibility.
Right.
And we nailed it. The news broke yesterday of one thing that we did not have, that the Big 12 has agreed to pay the $1 million WCC buyout, which tells you all sports are going to the Big 12. That was a question. But we told you there would be no Sunday play, which has been agreed to. We told you that BYU TV and ESPN, those relationships will continue. And we find out, we get confirmation that BYU TV gets third-tier rights to all sports, which is incredibly important. We find out that BYU will share, as we talked about, and I think this was one of the first things we reported on this show, that BYU will get a portion of the Texas-Oklahoma money. I mean, it's everything to me that you want. And when we talk about Tom Holmoe as an athletic director, and we talk about his significance and his ability to operate at a P5 level, that's no longer in question. This is one of the, in my opinion, this is one of the greatest coups. If all these details come to fruition, if we have it all the way right, the way we think we have it right, and there will be an invitation for these 4 schools today, and Tom Holmoe was able to leverage his independence, it was all worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom Holmoe now becomes one of the best athletic directors in the country. Tom Holmoe is a guy that you can say has forever changed the legacy and direction from the beginning now all the way into the future for BYU athletics. And the guy is not a household name. Tom is not a guy that's going to take a lot of credit or ask for a lot of credit. He deserves all the credit. Because BYU leadership, from the church all the way down, supports Tom Holmoe 100%. And that he's been able to pull this off, and that here we are now on the dawn of one of the biggest days for BYU, Houston, for, I look at UCF in this whole thing. I look at Cincinnati, and I see Cincinnati as a team that's incredibly valuable. And I think Cincinnati's a school that has been yearning for acceptance just the same way that BYU has. And I think that it cannot go too far without saying, without BYU, none of this is possible. When you understand what the Big 12 is giving to BYU, and you understand the leverage, and we talked about this 2 months ago, that BYU has all the leverage in this situation. All the leverage. The moment that Texas and Oklahoma announced that they were going to the SEC, go back and look. We said on this show, BYU has all the leverage with the Big 12.
Yeah.
There's no more, Bronco Mendenhall chasing down the Austin American-Statesman for an interview to beg for acceptance into the Big 12. Those days are over, right? But I mean, seriously, those days are over.
Yeah.
You're talking about a situation where without BYU, there's no press conference today. With all due respect to Houston, to UCF, to Cincinnati, without BYU, today isn't today. Today's just another Football Friday. Today's just another, preview of the Holy War.
Yep.
That's all this is. But because BYU had the balls and the gall to stay independent, to not fold, they're just going to go back to the Mountain West. Because TDS,
Haters, bro.
Without all the haters, today's not possible.
Yeah.
Today is the culmination of 10 years of pain and frustration. That's what today is. And I'm telling you, you very rarely, if ever, as a fan, get to go for the ride you're going to go on today. So if you are a BYU Cougar fan, if you are a Houston Cougar fan, if you are a Cincinnati Bearcat fan, if you are a UCF Knights fan, lap it up. Enjoy it. Live in the moment. Appreciate when you hear that press conference and you hear the leadership of the Big 12 say, we are officially inviting Brigham Young University to join the Big 12. Let that sink into your chest. Live in that. Because days like this are so incredibly rare. They're so incredibly rare. And I would, especially here in Utah, I would tell you to go back to the days where it became, the billboards are going up, it's Pac-12 country. Utah's the only school that matters. Little brother down there in Provo.
BDS.
They don't even have a seat at the table. Drink all your blue Kool-Aid, you Cougar fools.
Yep.
Right? Like 10 years of that.
Whatever.
And now, dare I say that BYU, if this goes off without a hitch today, which I expect it will, BYU is going to be in a better position to win a national championship than Utah in the Pac-12.
How is that even possible?
It's unbelievable, man. And a lot of this is about the leadership and the management of the Pac-12. We've talked about that ad nauseum on this show. That's why Utah's in the position they're in. That's why, again, this weekend, Oregon, I don't know how many times I have said this in the last 10 years. When's the last time Oregon was a 14.5-point dog?
It's not good.
They're a 14.5-point dog to Ohio State. Now, I understand the Bucks are the Bucks, and my God, the Big Ten makes money. But the Bucks are the Bucks, and the Ducks are the Ducks. See how that?
Yeah, you kind of like put it together, and it rhymes, and it all kind of like
commingling
fits.
And shit.
Right.
Anyway, the point is, you're the Oregon Ducks, and you're a 14.5-point dog.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. And when this announcement comes down from the Big 12 today, if I'm a Pac-12 homer, a Pac-12 fan, today is not a good day.
Yeah.
Because today should have been the day that the Pac-12 was making the announcement that, hey, BYU in Houston, BYU in Cincinnati, whoever, hey, yeah, we're now, we're inviting these 4 teams because we're going to 16 teams because we're here to kick ass, take names, and go after the SEC. That's what the Pac-12 should have been talking about today.
Yeah.
But instead, it's going to be the Big 12.
Yep.
And instead, Oregon's a 14.5-point dog because Larry Scott can't make a phone call to Google. You know what I'm saying?
It's that simple.
Well, it was a great day. We fired Larry Scott. All right, everything's fixed. Only it's business as usual. So was it Larry Scott or is it the president of the Pac-12?
Mm-hmm.
Let all that sink in as the Big 12 makes their announcement today. Let all that sink in as BYU, Cincinnati, Central Florida, and Houston all go by every team in the Pac-12 for a seat at the table.
And then Monday we can talk about how much trouble the Pac-12 is in.
And it is what it is. I am telling you that today is history in the making.
Mm-hmm.
It is. If you look at this, and I know people are probably tired of hearing me say this, and I know I talk about this all the time, but the history of college football changes every single day. And now throw into that mix expansion. Throw into that mix contraction. Because there's going to be conferences that don't exist anymore. Right? I
don't know how many people are prepared for that.
Well, but if you think about the P5 conferences versus the G5 conferences. How many of these G5 conferences, the WACs, the Sun Belts, how many can survive? When you start plucking teams like Cincinnati, power brand in that conference. Remember when that conference, man, remember back to no, we don't remember where Cincinnati came from.
No, we don't. No.
That's just the reality of being a G5. The AAC is a great conference, great leadership, but they don't control their fate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We have seen this in the history. Look at the Mountain West. What happens if Boise leaves the Mountain West? What if they take their blue turf and they go play in a P5? Because that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. And again, not to keep going back to the Pac-12. You're a Pac-12 homer. Yes, I am. What if the Pac-12 says, you know what? F it. The Big 12 went big. Let's go bigger.
They won't do that.
But what if they call Boise State? But what if they call X, Y, and they go ham? Then what? Because the Mountain West is what if the Pac-12 calls Utah State and Boise and Colorado State and they just going at it? The Mountain West is done.
You're so fucked.
Yeah, Craig Thompson and his terrible hair, and what a dick that guy is. But, he can go away now. Adios.
Sayonara.
Nobody will miss you. Nobody will remember the mountain. Fondly, anyway. They'll remember the mountain, just not fondly.
Yeah.
But this is what I hope people understand. The gravity and the magnitude. And then I'll bring it back to the frame of the state of Utah.
Things are changing.
BYU is going to get into the Big 12 today. And then tomorrow night in Provo, down there, little brother in the South, look at all these blue sunglasses and Kool-Aid. With their new scoreboard in their huge stadium that is now officially sold out. Do you not think there's going to be Big 12 T-shirts down in Provo? You don't think little brother down there in Provo has a printing press?
You cannot tell me that they won't be selling Big 12 T-shirts at the stadium.
Come on.
Come on, bro.
There's somebody making $1.
Someone's going to.
So let me get this right. Utah's won 9 straight years, 9 straight games. Now last year, they've won 9 straight games. They have all the momentum. They're arguably the best team in the Pac-12.
Mm-hmm.
But what's everybody going to be talking about? Oh, my God! BYU's in the Big 12! Look at all the logos! This place is packed!
Cock-a-doodle-doo.
And all of a sudden, BYU's got all the momentum. You can't tell me that Kalani's not already out there talking to recruits. Hey, bruh, we're in the Big 12. Why don't you come be the first Heisman Trophy winner in the Big 12?
If you guys ever want to kick it, we'll flow.
Do you know how much this reduces the pain of the honor code? Do you know how much this reduces the pain of every a-hole coach that recruits against BYU saying, well, if you go to BYU, you got to wear magic underpants? You know how much
ridiculous.
this... Well, it is ridiculous. But it
ridiculous,
happens.
Dude.
It absolutely
it's so
happens.
Ridiculous.
So do you know how much this underpins that? I mean, it's over.
Yeah.
If BYU gets into the Big 12, there's no more excuses. There's no more excuses.
Both ways. I think there's no more excuses for BYU either.
And you know, no, that's my point.
Oh.
And you know what I would say? There's no more Zach Wilson going to Boise. Well, I'm going to change my mind and go to Provo. He'd have never looked at Boise. He'd have never looked at him. There's no more Damian Mama going to USC. You know what I'm saying? There's no more Porter Gustin going to USC.
Mm-hmm.
Those days are over.
Mm-hmm.
Bronco Mendenhall ain't begging anybody to get into any conference because you're in the Big 12. Anyway, I'll stop.
What are the comments saying? What do we got in the
Oh,
comments?
look, it's Sam Kim.
Sam, bro, so good to see you today, man.
Wilbon is a tool. Who listens to that fool anymore? Good morning, Sam Kim says. He says, nobody I know thinks BYU is the best team in 84. Whatever, enjoy it. Well, I'm not a BYU fan. Nothing I've said here is opinion-based. It's fact.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 1984, and this is the thing, Sam Kim and everybody else. When I ask Jimmy Jamoke, college football historian, hey, Jimmy Jamoke, can you pull out your Encyclopedia Britannica and tell me who won the college football national championship in 1984?
Oh, shit.
Is he going to say, well, it should have been your mom, but somehow, some way, BYU, and I think they did it with a gun and a mask, they stole the national championship.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Somehow, I don't think that's going to be the answer. If I say, hey, man, does anybody know who won the national championship of college football in 84?
Obviously not.
Everybody's going to say, well, yeah, it was BYU. Now, you might not remember Lavelle Edwards. You might not remember Ty Detmer. But in 1984, BYU won the national championship. Kind of difficult to unwrite that book. And that's the stuff that I just don't get. Who cares?
Everyone's
how?
going to hate. It just is what it is, man.
Who cares how? They won the national championship. Let's see. BYU fan CJ says, good morning. Go BYU. Go Big 12. Brylark says, morning, boys. My Cowboys made a huge mistake letting that serial killer walk on the field with 90 seconds.
Serial killer?
Yeah, how about that? How about the look on Tom Brady's face with 90 seconds to go?
Yeah, dude. Killer.
All right, we're winning this game.
Mm-hmm.
Right? No, you lost the game because your a-hole kicker couldn't make chip shots in the first quarter. That's why you lost this game. And then came back and made that one.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny says, good Saturday morning, y'all. Hey, Kenny. Welcome from down under. Edgar Garcia says, did you say you're bringing the Traeger to Enterprise and have some wings with me and my family? You don't even have to take it back. Just leave it here. Yeah, we said that like a week ago. That's a lie. Matt says it's Big 12 Friday. Big 12 dominates the Pac-12. Go Texas Tech and BYU. Brandon James says, give them hell, Brigham.
Mm-hmm.
Give them hell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm
I
glad
love
people
it.
are fired up.
I love it. BYU better be a member of the Big 12 by the time I wake up.
Wow.
Right? Sleep well. Spencer Morgan, good morning, my friend. He says, based on the talent, Utah being a 7-point favorite is not a surprise at all, but they have to get better O-line play than last week. Well, I think that's one of the biggest questions now for Utah is how do you find five guys to stand on that line and just be average for 3.5 seconds? Because that's really all you need.
Yeah.
Because Charlie Brewer is either going to turn around and hand the football off, or he's going to roll the pocket and throw the ball. Just give me 3.5, maybe 4 seconds. Utah was not able to do that consistently against Weber. But BYU was not able to do that against Arizona either. I think the offensive line is one of the very critical matchups in this game.
Yeah.
because I think you're always going to lean defense with the Utes. I mean, Witt always has the Utah Utes ready to defend. Their defensive line is good. Their linebackers, Lloyd is a stud.
Stud, dude. Ready to play.
I think the secondary played better than most of us thought they would. Now we'll see, because I think BYU's got the Nakua brothers are supposedly, and I say supposedly, 100%, and they're going to play. Okay, well, I'll believe it when I see it. But I think Jaren Hall offers you a different set of circumstances, right? That's a guy that showed last week against Arizona, who, by the way, I thought showed out a little bit defensively. I think they were as good as we thought they would be on the show. We talked about that Arizona was much better. Now, they're not great, but Arizona is much more talented. They have kind of remade that front seven, and I thought that front seven as a group together, played well. I think Jaren handled some of that pressure. Now, early, I thought, and I think you agree with me, I thought early that Jaren looked a little nervous, Jaren Hall.
I just think he got off to a slow start. Sure, nervous or, whatever the case was. I just think he got off to a slow start, and I think that, again, once he made that throw to the right-hand sideline, he delivered it. I think that kind of snapped him into the game, and I think he was fine after that. But I agree with you. I think tomorrow, when these two are on the field and they're playing this game, if you're Utah, you're going on the road into a hostile environment, and that's when your defense has to be rock solid.
What's interesting is Phil Steele and the guys that put together the Pac-12 preview. Mm-hmm. They ranked Utah as the number one offensive line in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Which is a little surprising. And I before I said that out loud, I actually picked up the magazine to double check that I saw that right.
Yeah.
But
they have a good offensive line. It's just a matter of executing. I mean, no offensive line is going to be able to hold up for 5, 6, 7 seconds. That's not how it works.
Well, and I hope you're right about that, because I don't think we saw that against Weber. Now, I mean, it's game one.
Yeah.
I mean, how much of the playbook did we even see?
I don't know.
A tiny portion of it.
Yeah.
So I don't think we've seen all the sets. I don't think we've seen the rotations. I certainly don't think we've seen the running game, even a framework of what their running game is going to look like going forward.
Yeah.
Now, I think everybody recognizes the defense at BYU, especially, that defensive line, they're going to play. They're here to play. And I think what we saw against Arizona was that they are able to compete readily. And, with all the change and the new bodies on defense, I think BYU has to be pretty happy. Now, I don't know what that game film's going to look like. Having watched, a couple of quarters of that over, the fourth quarter there were some good moments in that fourth quarter. So it'll be interesting. I think, and I'll tell you again, when you're looking at, a 7-point, road favorite for Utah.
First of all, that's a lot of shade towards BYU, first of all.
But you're is it though? I mean, you're looking at a team in BYU that's going to go against arguably the best team in the Pac-12.
Right.
Arguably.
Right.
You're looking at a situation where you're bringing in a quarterback in Charlie Brewer that probably should have his way with this BYU secondary.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I think that what we saw at Utah's offense was that he's able to move the ball, but I also think that Charlie Brewer's not a guy where you're like, man, we better have that safety 20 yards deeper than usual because he can just go over the top on us, So it'll be interesting to see. I do think, a really valid point, after watching the first games for both of these teams was that BYU's defense typically plays really soft. They play. They want to play zone, they want to give you space, and they want to keep everything in front of them rather than making your life really difficult at the line of scrimmage and forcing you to beat them. So it'll be interesting to see, if they play soft again, if they're giving a lot of cushion, how does Utah approach that? Because my thing is if Utah is able to run the ball in this game and is able to get that going early, that's bad news for BYU. If Utah's offense gets going on the ground, now you got play action, now you have problems. So that's why I say I think if I'm BYU, I'm playing tighter defense than I'm accustomed to, just because I don't want to let them get momentum early in the game.
The one complaint I have about this BYU defense, well, not the one, but the biggest one, I hate, frustrated, dislike, I don't know what's the right way to say it, prevent defense. BYU loves to keep the ball in front of them. And I think that's a very dangerous way to play a quarterback like Charlie Brewer. BYU is always going to be, with that philosophy, they're always going to be susceptible to double moves. They're always going to be susceptible to stop and goes because they're so hell-bent on not giving up big plays. And when you have the level of athlete that you have in a Keithy or, that you have, frankly, Britton Covey doesn't get enough credit for being an elite receiver in this conference. I think he's very good. When you have that level of athlete, you better tackle well. And you're fine giving up, 10 yards just not to give up 20. And I just don't love that philosophy, especially when you're not sure down in and down out where your pass rush is going to come from yet. I don't think BYU has a firm grasp on that. I hate prevent defense.
Me too. Not a fan.
I think when you look at the contrasts in talent, and we always talk about this is why BYU will always struggle against Utah. Will always struggle against those bigger teams. Why, the upset against Wisconsin was amazing. Why you got pushed around in South Bend. Because big clubs, big P5 clubs are always going to be bigger and stronger up front than you are.
Yeah.
And when you look at the quality of linebacker that BYU has, they're very good. Are they Utah good? Probably not. So your margin for error, if you are BYU, is very small. And you need playmakers. You need guys on defense to really have a day. And, it's funny. Brian Keel was on BYU Sports Nation yesterday. And he talked about being on terrible football teams. And Brian Keel, and if you didn't see it, go find the Keel Zone on Twitter. It's amazing. He talked about how at some point you just got to look in the mirror and you got to be a man. And you got to say 9 is way too much. Enough is enough. This is the year we're putting this thing to bed. And I agree with that. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen. I think this is a one-possession game. And I want to say that BYU is going to have the ball with a chance to win the game because I believe they will. But I think it's that close. I think it's one play. I think it's a receiver or a tight end who puts his head up the field before the ball's in his hands. He drops that ball or it gets deflected and Devin Lloyd intercepts it. Or it's an incompletion. It's, to me, does Jaren Hall run too quickly? Because he's going to see pressure he has never seen before tonight. Or, tomorrow night. He's going to see pressure from a very good defense.
Yeah.
And the question is, how does he handle that pressure? Because, again, and you can call me a Pac-12 homer, okay, great. Utah is by far the best team that Jaren Hall's ever seen.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. How is he going to handle that? We don't know. And everybody talks about, Jaren's experienced. And what happened in Las Vegas last week against Arizona was nice. It's not nearly the emotions, this Big 12 announcement into the rivalry game where you've lost 9 straight in front of 60,000 exploding, screaming fans. Waving Big 12 flags, wearing the blue, and the student section, and the Utah fans. How many beats per minute is Jaren Hall's heart going to be cranking out? Right? I mean, because that's ultimately what's going to decide that pass that floated a little too high for a pick six versus that pass that hit him in the hands, and it's a first down to continue a drive. That's ultimately what's going to determine this game because it will be one play. There are very few blowouts over the history of this rivalry. How many Kalani goal line decisions do we have? We have more than you think. And I think for the sake of this rivalry, BYU needs to win this game. I think the likelihood is Utah wins this game. And I think it's a 28-27. I think it's a 31-28. I think it's one play, one turnover. Somebody puts the ball on the ground. That's where I come down at. Now, I know that's going to be an unpopular opinion on this show. Again, you're going to call me a Pac-12 homer? Okay, cool. I think it's one play. And when it's one play, you always side with the athlete. You always side with the athlete. And as much as Kalani's brought up the athletic ability, the physicality, the size, the girth, the BMI of this football team,
Yeah.
it's not quite on par with Utah yet. And so I would lean towards the Utah Utes to win this game in a very tight one.